I died to win, and I was born to lose. So I cheated at Heads Up 7-Up by looking at their shoes. Bitch, only I get no tag packs. I slap you in the face whenever we play patty whack. Patty whack, patty whack, I give female dogs bones. Every chick with pigtails gave smoochies to the Tano. It's like Navajo Indians raised me in the plain.
Alrighty. I think we're about ready. Hey, Courtney, you got a minute? Time to look at some stuff, please.
Sorry. I'm not trying to.
No, you're okay.
I don't have the jacket.
No, it's fine. Sorry about that.
No, you're fine.
You're making me feel bad.
I always have like a pillow and a couple of covers in my car just in case.
So I went through the garage right and garage left prints that you made, and it's not as bad as it looks. Some of it's just notes for future reference. So I'm going to leave both of these up so that you can see them, and I'll just zoom in on this. So you want to be sure that you check everything to make sure that everything looks the way you want it to. And this front elevation, you see how it looks all vertical stripes. Okay, so we want to, you remember the remove paint thing? So we want to be sure that we put that back to brick. And I know that's one of those things where, like, if you're not familiar with a project, you don't know what that's supposed to be. So it's hard to go through and check everything. I don't expect you to check every face to see it, but we need to remove paint on this one so that. And you might have to do that on all the ones that you're doing, because when you move things, sometimes if it has a split face on it for like this here or the soldier course here, it doesn't like that for some reason. So it's almost like every time you change something before you print, you have to go and make sure that everything looks the way it's supposed to. All right. By the way, you got most of everything. All these red lines are mostly clarification on how we word things. A little bit, I'm going to go over a little bit on how to dimension, the art of dimensioning, because it is an art. Getting those dimensions in there so that they make sense. But you did a pretty good job. So just take these as lessons and keep moving forward. So I'm probably going to go in and clean this roof up a little bit. Roofs are not easy, especially on these homes. So at some point, I'll probably go over how to do these roofs with you. But for now, I'm just going to go in and probably clean that up in these models. And then what you can do is you can just copy paste it, that back part. Okay, and I'll probably do it on a garage right and a garage left, and I'll let you know which one do it. But a couple of things real quick. I noticed on the garage left version, and you'll see it, I'll send you some red lines. You changed the roof, but on the roof plan the line is still down here, so we want to be sure that that gets moved up to within a foot. You don't have to dimension it, but it should look the same. That line should just be straight across, right across there. So on the slab plan, since we're lining these up, these dimensions should be the same. So I think what happened is, either did you modify the slab sketch, or did it move with the wall?
I know I had to modify it.
This line right here. So one of two things is happening. Either your dimension is going to the wrong line, or your slab went to the wrong line. So be sure that, in fact, I can tell after zooming in. What you want to do is you want to be sure these walls have, not that thick of a line. Okay. I'll try that one. So these walls have jip, and then stud, and then they have sheathing on the outside, and airspace, and then brick, right? Okay, this is the sheathing on the inside. You want to be sure that your slab goes to the face of the core right there.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so it might be that you're going to here or just a little bit past, but you want to be sure it's going to that 1, 2, 3rd line, which is, do you understand where that is? Like you're picturing the framing. Okay. All right. And then that will probably clean this up as well. So this should be, it's not supposed to be the same as that. 6 inches, 3'2", 3'8". It should be, sorry, this should be 51. Come on, computer. 51. But
And I have noticed
8
that
inches.
once I've done multiple models to try to check on different areas, so I knew I had to go back.
Okay, so some of this you probably already know. That's fine.
Well, not the slab. Slab, I did not know.
Yeah, but some of them you're probably like, you just smile and nod and say, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been through this process with many of my bosses and mentors where they're going over things and I'm like, yeah, we just haven't gotten to that point yet. And so you just, if you're aware of those things, that's fine. This is just be a good reminder and good reinforcement that you already knew it. So it's important to be consistent. So I know Christopher he drew in slope right there, but look and see in our documentation where we might already be indicating that and be consistent with that. So you might not have known this was going to be 11, 12, but this will always match the roof slope. Okay, and do you know why it matches the roof slope?
Because the inside of the ceiling.
Yeah, it's just the roof framing and the ceiling is slapped on the bottom of that. Okay, and that'll also be a smaller text. You see how the text is really big, so you can just copy one of these texts over here. Right?
Okay.
And let's see, so 9'6", you got that. And this is also, so this is another thing where you start learning what you have to translate what the client writes into what we actually put on there. Let me see what this is real quick. Yes. Oh boy. Ask if I can call her back or leave a message. See if you can send her to voicemail. And let her know I'm with someone and I'll call her back as soon as I can. Thank you. Okay. So he wrote 30-inch wood hood. We still have to tell them that it's a range in an oven. Okay. So I put here the note, just put 30-inch range with oven and wood hood above. Okay, that just indicates that it's a 30-inch stove with a hood above. And the reason we're doing that is because it used to be that there was a microwave above. So, and then we're moving the microwave. Actually, there was no microwave in this one. So we're putting the microwave over here and moving the fridge to the other side. So this text over here, right, it gets a little tough to read, especially in your garage left one. It's buried in all the text. This will probably be, you can leave. So here's the thing about the graphics on this right here, is that if you think about what this is going to look like, right, if you're looking at an elevation, right, you got your wall here, got your ground, got your countertop here. Okay, wow, can't draw. right? And you've got your cabinets down below. Probably not accurate at all. Okay. But what's going to happen here is you've got an upper cabinet, okay, with a built-in microwave and probably a tiny little door above, kind of like what we have downstairs in our break room.
Is this the elevation or?
This is an elevation.
Okay.
Yes, elevation. So here's your countertop at 3 feet 0 inches, right? And then this is at about 4 foot 6 inches, and this is at about 7 foot. And then you've got your ceiling further up. Okay, so you've got a built-in microwave sitting right there. Okay, kind of like we have downstairs. And it's not going to be sitting on a shelf like ours. It's actually going to be built into it. Okay, so what we need to make sure of here is that our graphics line up. And I don't know if there is a line right there. If there is, it seems a little odd, because then you've got these shapes right here. And I think, did you add one right there?
Yeah.
Add a cabinet right here, because the fridge was there.
Yeah.
And we've expanded it.
I figured if I put a cabinet that would really, basically from right here down would be too long.
From where the fridge was? Well, that's a 36-inch cabinet.
Well, that additional cabinet right by.
This one right here?
Yes.
Oh, you're saying if you just stretch that down, it'd be too long? Probably. But I think, so what do we have here? We have 6 foot, 7 foot. So what we could probably do is take this whole space and divide it by 4 and get 4 even spaces. Now, and the way that the cabinets that I've put in here work is you can just click them and stretch them, which is much easier than the ones that they use in the other projects. So what you can literally do is come in here, and it'll tell you the length too. You don't want to go much more than 36 inches. So this is 2 feet right now.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we could 7 feet 369. I think we could do 3. So here's what I would do. Put some detail lines in here. Okay, this is my favorite trick in Revit, by the way. And just come in here, dimension those, EQ that. Okay, I don't care that they're ugly dimensions. And then I just go in and do that right there. I didn't like making that one so small. Right, now the problem with that is that now we've got this, which you're gonna have to adjust by going into the types and changing this. So this will be 2 foot 3. Oh my goodness. Sorry.
That's fine.
Actually, no. So 2 foot 4 inches. Okay, so we'll make a new one of these. Duplicate width. 2 foot 4. What is that? 28 inches. Right. And it looks like this is not a parametric family, so it doesn't change when you change the. Nice. Okay. Probably we might not use this family. Probably for the purposes of this, we just want to use some detail lines probably. All right, so maybe just some overhead lines instead of using the cabinet family because we're not able to change the width. Your thought process was in the right place, but I think in order to show this a little bit more clearly, we want to do this. So the notes that I had put in here, microwave built into upper cabinet. Okay, so we don't want, if you say cabinet with built-in microwave, and the way that it was shown, it looks like it's a full height cabinet, right? But this is just a microwave that's built in above. It's going to be a little bit deeper, so show it kind of built out like that. But that's what Christopher wants. Unless they put a slim one in.
So on Patriots homes, they never do elevations.
No, they don't. And it gets them in trouble sometimes, but they don't pay us for that service.
Yeah.
I've asked him if he wants us to. So we want to move this somewhere where it's not.
I tried to do that.
I know.
It's like it's just a lot.
There's a lot of stuff going on. So what we might look at doing is maybe rearranging some of this stuff, and maybe we can.
I just didn't want to mess.
I know. No, you can. I mean, you can mess with things as long as it's still readable, right? So we can maybe move some of this stuff around, and that becomes a little bit more readable. Why is? Oh, there we go. Got rid of the leader. So, and microwave. I don't know. This is one of those things where you kind of have to play with how it's worded, right? So built-in microwave and upper. I don't know. Maybe that's enough. What did he say? He says pantry cabinet with built-in microwave, but this is the one where he says, will you just draw in a built-in microwave in the upper cabinet? Which is what I just said, right? Mm-hmm. Built-in microwave in upper, yeah. So that might be sufficient.
Okay.
So, and we'll send it to him and say, check this note, make sure you think that it's sufficient for your shop guys. Does that kind of make sense? Mm-hmm. Just kind of cleaning that up. Linen, it'll just be, you can just
detail.
You can just do a detail line because it's just going to be an upper cabinet. So be consistent. Upper cabinets are shown with detail lines, and I think it's only like a foot or something like that. So I usually find that it's about in line with the tank. Okay. Got that. This right here, just you can change this text here, and I would just put rod and shelf. We don't want to give them specifics on how many rods and how many shelves or anything like that. But you do want to show the rod, so you're showing the rod. That's fine. We want to just bring this all the way over to this probably, and all the way over to this. Because if you think about how that's going to be built, it'll be this probably should be lined up with the walls too, but I think it gets a little skinny if we do that. It's not too bad. So you can probably do something like that. And then you see how we lose that 3/4 right there. So we want to check and see. Maybe we can move this a little bit, be readable. It goes right there. All right, and then let's see. Any questions about the floor plan? Pull that back up over here.
In the kitchen area. where there's a overhang. Well, not the overhang, but it's a detail line for the roof. But it was only on one side, and I didn't know. It's not in this plan. I don't know what happened to it, but it's something that's like right here.
Okay, yeah, so there was a line that was like right here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, what that was, it was, they have a little slope. So this wall is at 8 feet, and the ceiling in there was at 9 feet.
Okay.
So they did a little bit of a slope to 9 feet,
Okay.
and that was what they did. So now they're changing it to slope on both ends, going up to 4 foot flat.
Okay, so that line can just be raised.
Yes. Yeah, it can go away. But I think nope, that's 8 foot ceiling there. Yeah, see how it says vault to 9 feet? So that's how much slope they had to get to 9 feet. Yeah. So you can get rid of that line. Any other questions on the floor plan?
Mm-hmm.
All right, elevation, again, just making sure that, just check to make sure everything looks good. I think you checked everything and maybe just didn't know that that needed to be done, but
Okay.
those vertical lines, it should look like brick. I'm not sure what happened with the electrical plan. I don't think there's supposed to be dashed lines, though. Was it already dashed lines when you were working on it?
Uh-huh.
It was?
And later on in the project, I didn't think about changing the electrical.
Yeah.
Once the island, I moved it up. I made it a foot longer. I didn't think to move the outlets,
Oh, yeah.
so I changed that in the other model. But
Check
I need
and
to go
see.
back.
I'm not sure why those are dashed. Check the view templates when you go back and see if there's an electrical view template. And if there is, go ahead and assign that to the plan
Okay.
so that we can get back to it. It should look something like this. And if you can't find that, let me know. I'll go in and I'll make that change.
So find the electrical plan and assign it to that one.
The view template.
Okay.
If there is one. If there's not, just let me know. And
So what view is that?
this is the electrical plan.
Okay.
What I'm saying is see if there's an electrical view template.
Okay.
And if there's a view template for electrical plans, assign it to both of these so that it's not dashed lines. I'm not sure why. I don't know how these ended up being dashed, but they shouldn't be. Okay, so you did a pretty good job moving, adjusting everything. We want to be sure. Let's go ahead and take just a little bit of extra time to go ahead and put this right on that wall.
Okay.
Right, and we also want to show those dashed lines for the slope and for the box beam so that we can coordinate the lights with.
Okay.
Okay, you can copy paste those directly from the kitchen plan or from the floor plan. So show slopes and box beams, and then you want to be sure that you update the text and the outlets for all the changes that we've made too. So we moved the refrigerator over to here, so we need to give it an outlet. Okay, we need to update the text to indicate that there's a hood above, right? So you can, and it can be the exact same text from the floor plan. We have a microwave high. Okay, so we need a
42.
Well, we have one at 42 here, but for the microwave, if you think about where that's going to be, remember the bottom of that cabinet's at about 4'6".
Mm-hmm.
So 48, 54, somewhere around 60 inches.
Okay.
You're going to want an outlet right there for the microwave.
Okay.
Okay, does that make sense?
Uh-huh.
Let's see, for microwave. One of the things that you'll want to make sure of is that once we put the lines in for the slope, is that the lights are not sitting right on that line. And I think Christopher likes to put the lights in the slope. So you might have to move the lights out into the sloped area just a little bit. And I think those lines are like right dead down that line. Okay, so what you'll need to do is you'll need to move these lights out just a little bit, and then you'll need to move these. I would say move these lights. No, just line them up. Just line them up. He's going to want them lined up. As much as I would rather have the dining room lights sitting in that flat, he's going to want them lined up down the slope.
Okay. So put them on the line?
Not on the line, but inside the slope. So you'll want to put them, just inside wherever that slope line is. So that basically what'll happen is you've got your flat and you've got your slope. Wow. And then the light will sit like right here and right here. And it'll shine down from there instead of the flat part. All right. I think overall you've done a great job. A lot of this is just small things where you're learning the ins and outs, which is part of the process. One other thing real quick, I wanted to go over dimensioning with you, because I think it was this one. Yes, this guy right here. So yeah, I don't know if they went missing when you moved it, like if the dimensions disappeared and you tried to rebuild it. Okay, so you hit the right ones. You knew that we needed a dimension there and a dimension there. You can look at, always use existing projects as a reference if you want to check your work and see how things are done. But it's a really good idea, and I don't know if Ching goes over this in well, he might go over it in design drawing. But I wanted to go over real quick kind of what I was taught for dimensioning, and kind of especially for the dimensions around the exterior. The ones in the interior are a completely different beast. But there's a system that I use for dimensioning, and I want to show it to you real quick. All right, I always start with dimensioning. By the way, when you use dimensions in Revit, you can pick center lines, faces, and whatever. So for exterior lines, I always have this set to faces of core, and then it snaps. You don't have to sit there. If I hover over this, I don't have to sit there and tab through. See, if I have this on wall faces and I sit there, it immediately snaps to the face of the wall. Okay, and I know that's hard to see because we got thin lines on, but you see how it's to the face of the wall. And if I do faces of core, my mouse is in the same place, but it's actually snapping to where I want. Okay, same thing there. All right, so I always start with an overall dimension. Okay, and I just place it out here somewhere. All right, so the next thing that I want to do is I want to give, what you have to remember is you're giving somebody instructions on how to build this and where to lay things out. So we have the slab plan, which the concrete guys are going to reference, but they might also reference this to verify other dimensions. So you can think of what we need next. Well, first of all, we give them the overall size so that they know how wide on the lot it's going to be. Okay? And then we give them the little, we give them like if there's segments of the building. Okay, so we have 3 segments here. We have the public wing, we have the living area, and we have, I did that backwards, the private segment, the living area, and the public segment. Now, it's not always private, public, but you can see that there's 3 distinct pieces here. Okay, so for the exterior walls, I come in and give them where the building goes in and out like that. right? Just like that. Right? And so then the next one is going to be windows and interior walls where they meet the exterior wall. Right?
Okay.
And also, sometimes I do, like if there's a bunch of little pieces right here, like if I do a bump out right here, I'll maybe dimension that separate if it gets too complicated. But for the most part, for majority of times I have 3 dimension lines. Okay, overall, segments, and then details, where I come in and I dimension all the little pieces. And I'm leaving out this one because it's angled, and I've got that documented down here. And notice that I'm doing them in one long string. You don't have to, you want to try to avoid doing like one dimension here and another dimension here.
What happens if you, because I've done that before, so what happens if you need to delete a dimension? Is
Like,
there a way?
like which
Just
one?
one.
Pick one.
10 foot.
I need to delete
feet.
this.
Yeah, 10
So what do I need to delete it? Why would I need to, like if because there's a couple ways to do it, and I want to be sure I give you the right way.
There's no reason to move it now,
Okay.
but I had times where
Gotcha.
I would just need to delete that one thing.
So if I need, so there's a couple things you can do. If for some reason I'm like, oh, I don't need this 10-foot dimension, but I need this overall dimension here. All right, I can right click on my witness lines and delete those witness lines. Okay, so I can do it that way. Or if I need to, if I'm like, oh, you know what? I need everything over here and everything here, but this needs to go. I can actually tab through and select just that one and delete it. And now it's 2 separate strings. Okay, so I can move these independent of each other. Okay, or I can also, if I just needed to move this to a different place, I can just take this and drag it right there. Okay, so that should help you with that. But you don't want to, you want to try to avoid having like a ton of individual dimensions throughout, because it makes it more difficult to, like, imagine you're trying to adjust all of these up to that point. I mean, you can drag and select them, but it's much easier if you can just do it in one grab there. All right, so a couple things to look for when you're dimensioning, right, is a couple things to look for are you want to try to avoid cutting through a dimension string. Come on, update. There we go. So you see how your line was cutting through another dimension below it? You want to try to avoid that, because that can be confusing when you have a line going through a dimension like that. Because then you can read it as this. People, this is why we have those tick marks, but sometimes that doesn't prevent people from being silly. So people could read this as being 12 foot or this as being 12 foot, even though there's a 6 foot above it. Right? It seems silly, but I've seen it done. And you kind of look at them and you're like, really? Why are we having this conversation? So you want to try to avoid.
That's actually in all of the views. I've noticed that, because I had to move the 12 over, the 12 feet over.
You had to move the 12 feet over where?
Well, just so that it wouldn't be in between the line. And it'll just.
Oh, yeah.
So that's in all of the views, I've noticed.
Well, so this dimension right here should be going all the way across. So there shouldn't be a line going through there.
Okay.
Yeah, so see here. Oh. So that 44 feet's actually correct. It looks like it is going all the way across. But for some reason, this 6 foot for some reason this ended up here, right? And then it gets really confusing because now it looks like this dimension here is 44 feet, right? So you really want to try to avoid that.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
That makes sense.
But you want it to be kind of a progression outside in, overall segments, details. So you can see out here on the outside, I've got an overall dimension. It goes from the very front to the very back. All right. And then I skipped this dimension here. I probably shouldn't have. But what I would typically do here is I would have a dimension that does this. So there's the garage bump. And then that right there. So that gives them an idea. The garage is going to take up 20 foot 2 inches of space, and then the rest of it's going to be 33 feet. I think I left that out here just because it didn't make sense to have it. I don't know. I'm not sure why I left it out, but that's the way it is. That's the way it's going to stay. So you can see that this other one here, right, also dimensions to the partitions on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so anywhere a wall hits the exterior wall, I'm going to give them a dimension there as well. And the only reason that I wouldn't have a dimension here is if it's the same as the one that's above it. Okay, so it wouldn't make sense to run this same dimension. In fact, a lot of times what I'll do is delete everything in the project. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll run the exact same dimensions and we go center of line, unfortunately, on these. All right. And I won't even pay attention to, I know there's a window in here somewhere. The window. It's interesting. Not seen it do that before. I'm going to do that for now. All right, so I'll go through and not worry about this. So this is an exterior wall, so I go to there. All right. Exterior wall, exterior wall. I'll drop that right here, and then I can compare it to the line right above it. Oh, I've already got that dimension. Delete. All right, and for this window, so one little trick here real quick is if you have a family that has reference lines set up right, a middle and two sides, you can actually just click on that and it'll toggle between the sides and the middle. So for some reason I wasn't able to dimension to the center of that window, so I just dimensioned to the edge of it.
Okay.
Just click right there. All right, so this one is the same, so I'll go in and delete that. That's the same, and that's the same, so I'll just delete that whole line. Okay? So when you're dimensioning, try to keep an eye on giving it an order, right, on the exterior. Interior is going to be a little bit different, but give it a shot. We're missing a line there. Give it a shot, and I'll redline it. See if I can. There we go. All right. And you want to be sure that this is, these lines, it's 4 feet, but you want to be sure it's centered in this space. Go back and, because it's going to slope the same from each side.
And I have a question. Are those beams in the right place?
These are not. The ones in your other one was. So you want to pick a spot that's consistent in both of them, and it can be with the edge of the refrigerator.
Which other one are you talking about?
The GR that we were just looking at here. So in this one, you got them pretty close. I'd probably even like for this to be, actually, you know, that's actually okay. Because think about where the space is, right? The space, the definition of the space is right there along that line. This is the nook. Okay, so you're using the ceiling, the beams, right? You're using the ceiling to define this. It's more about design and less about construction. Okay, so if we didn't have that beam there, that whole space would just look like one big space, right? So think about, you can use that beam to define the kitchen versus the nook. So you could put that beam at the end, right? And then this beam is down here at this end, and then this one you just put in the middle. Like you can center them and figure out where that middle line is. Okay? And I would do the same thing on the other one, the GL. You know, you can take this, because I think this is pretty close. This is a GR. So take this, and for all your GRs, I would just copy paste this. And you know how to do paste aligned?
That's
you remember
I don't remember.
You don't remember?
Well, you showed me a trick where it was do a detail line.
Yep.
But I saw you do something different.
When? I do a lot of things different.
Well, you copied, or you selected everything, and then you copied, and it's almost like you picked or you snapped to a certain line, and you were able to select that into a new model. So
one thing that you can do, all right, is I'm going to take these and I'm going to copy them. Okay, and this is just the paste aligned. So I'm going to go to electrical plan. See, those aren't here. So what you can do is you can do paste align to current view. Okay, and it'll put it right in the exact same spot. Now, if you're doing that across projects, it becomes actually, no. If you're doing it across projects, it works exactly the same. If you do that same thing, as long as the buildings are in the same place, which for the GR models and the GL models, they should be in the same place. Now, the tricky thing is, when you're going from one to the other, what you can do is you can create like a reference line. Okay, and so I'm just going to draw these two lines. Okay, I don't even need to trace the rest of it. Okay, because I'll show you why in just a second. And you can do text as well, except you don't need the text on the electrical plan.
I think you showed me.
Okay, so what I can do is, if I'm going from GR to GL, paste aligned isn't going to do anything because it's going to be on the opposite. All right, so I just paste anywhere, it doesn't matter, and then I'm going to go ahead and do my flip. All right, I just did mirror, and I did this before finishing the paste. Okay, so I finished that, and now that I have this, all I have to do is move this to that same corner of the nook in the living area. Right, and that's going to put it in the exact same spots. Does that make sense? Okay, so you can use that to get it from one to the other, and once you have it in one the way you like it, you can put that same thing in all the others. So that way it's consistency is everything. It's a courtesy to our clients. When you're looking at, I mean, think about poor Christopher, who has to now review everything. You know, we're about to send him like 20 plans. 2 houses, like 20 plans. And he has to review everything, and he starts seeing things that are different, like in the kitchen. Okay, and then he's not sure, well, which one should it be? And we start generating questions in his mind. Do I want it to be this? And really, our job is to, even though we're not getting paid for design, we get to design a little bit when we put these things in here. You know, we determine where those box beams are. We're not measuring them, but we're kind of giving suggestions on where they are. So it's like we're doing a little bit of subliminal messages, right? So if you're consistent about it and purposeful about it, then we're viewed as people who are giving solutions instead of creating questions or just drawing the lines.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't want to be the people that are just drawing the lines. We want to be the people that are providing the solutions to the problems that they're having. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I'm going to save both of these. There are a few more comments on the GL. Did you do the GR first? Do you remember? I think you did because it was a later date. It was an earlier date. The GL had some similar issues, but it had a few more things that that weren't picked up, like the square opening wasn't changed.
Okay.
So we want to be sure we grab all the red lines.
Okay. And make sure you put square in it, right?
You don't have to put square, but you put square in the other one. So again, consistency. It's one of those things where you put square in, but we don't need it. But I didn't mark it wrong.
Okay.
It's not. It's more clarification. So yeah, just
Okay.
put square opening. I think that's fine. Typically, what you'll see is if it just says 8 foot 6 inch opening, then it's just 8 foot 6 inches high. If it's arched, we'll put arch.
Okay.
8 foot 6 inch arched opening.
Okay.
Square, no square, doesn't matter as long as it's consistent across all of them.
Okay.
Okay, so continue what you're doing with these red lines in mind.
Okay.
All right, and then we'll want to go back and correct the GR and the GL that
Okay.
you've already printed.
Okay.
Okay,
All right.
thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Hey, how's it going? Doing good. Did I catch you back at your desk? Okay. Mm-hmm. Right. Okay. Right. Well, I appreciate that. Right. Okay. Some conceptual, figure out what they can do. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. Sure. Yep. Well, that sounds great. I appreciate you. Appreciate you thinking of me. I'll be looking forward to the phone call. Pretty good. I've got I've actually got more projects in Texas than I do in Oklahoma right now, but you know, we're working on that. No, not a whole lot. I'll probably they're in Dallas, so it's only like 3 hour drive to go visit them, which isn't too bad. I mean, only a 3 hour drive, but it's not too bad. Yeah, yeah. Right. Alrighty. Thanks a lot. Have a good one. Bye. Hi, Michelle. Carl Gibson here. How are you? I'm doing great. I was pleasantly surprised to hear a phone call back so quickly. I appreciate you taking the time to do that. Okay. I see. Right. Okay, so maybe it was my misunderstanding then, because I was under the impression that the EESA was the evaluation to figure out education deficiencies. But it's not the same as the exam that's being administered by the, what was it, the NAAB? Or is that, okay. Because I saw one that was a $2,500 administrative fee to administer that. Okay. So then I guess what I was trying to figure out then is that through the certification guidelines, it looked like candidates for certification that had less than 60 credits, what do they go through to determine education deficiencies? Okay, so they would have to go through school to gain those areas, or right? Yes, and I'm going back and trying to find those links that I just sent you. So I have the high school diploma, and then I have something like 180 semester credit hours through an architecture school, but no degree. And the certificate portfolio is a review of work that they're doing? Okay. So the ESA is essentially just a way to, through the payment of the evaluation, to shorten that possible 3-year. Well, no, it doesn't, because you still have to work under 3 years, right? Okay, so the deficiencies are resolved through portfolio review. And my guess is that, is it typical that if someone doesn't go through the ESA, that it ends up being usually more than 3 years of work to get that did those deficiencies resolved? Is that kind of what I'm seeing here? Gotcha. Right. Right. That's what I'm looking at. So going through the ESA, I'll just call it process, basically reduces the number of exhibits that you have to submit in your portfolio in order to gain certification. Okay, that makes a little bit more sense now. So okay, I think that clears it up. That makes a lot more sense now. So hopefully you can see where the confusion was. I thought it was an exam, then I was like, well, why do the people that have no credit hours not have to take an exam? So, and I don't know why, but for some reason it just came across as though it wasn't as, I guess maybe just because it says evaluation, it comes across as yeah, some sort of, well, I mean, it is an assessment, right? But it's not a test assessment. It's a I guess peer review, not even peer review, just a review assessment of work. Okay. Alrighty. Well, so I gained my license in Oklahoma through education alternative for licensure. So what I was trying to do now is I completely misunderstood the certification requirements. So now I'm going through and trying to figure out what I need to get NCARB certification. So, and I'm finding that I'm going through all this. Correct. Yes. Well, we'll see how practice takes off. if if I can afford the 22 or 2,500 for the evaluation, then that might be beneficial. But if I'm able to meet the exhibit requirements for the portfolio over 3 years, then I really don't see a need to do that, right? Because if I accrue in a portfolio that meets all of those exhibit requirements over 3 years, then there's really no need to do the ESA. Right, but it kind of correlates because you might be able to, because I can't submit anything in the portfolio that I'm not doing under my license. So that portfolio begins when you start that 3-year period. Oh, okay. So, yeah. Yeah, because you're locking people who have invested a lot of money in education but never got a degree into spending even more money. And then the people that don't have any education don't have to spend extra money. No, yeah, and that makes sense, but that does seem like something optional, because if I'm able to get the exhibits that I need in 3 years of portfolio accrual, then it's a wasted $1,100 or whatever the cost. It says $1,100 in one place, but the NAAB I think showed it. Oh, yeah, you're right. Yes, man. Maybe I just need to learn to read. That's what needs to happen. That's a education deficiency, right? Not being able to read. Um, okay, so yeah, I mean, but I mean that kind of still, I'm still wrapping my brain around that, because if after 3 years I'm able to meet the portfolio review requirements without an ESA review, then it's just a wasted ESA fee because my portfolio met it. So I don't know. I'll have to look at. I'll have to look over the portfolio requirements. I took a glance at it and it was pretty extensive. So I think if I spend some time with it, I'll be able to figure out if that's doable. Right. Yes. And even though the ESA is required, it's not required until I decide to do the portfolio review. Is that correct? Does it all happen at the same time? Or does it happen as soon as I enroll in the... Oh. Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay. Well, excellent. Is Michelle, right? Well, thank you so much for your time. I appreciate you calling me back and clarifying that. It makes a lot more sense, and now I've got a little bit more reading to do. Thanks a ton. Have a good one. Bye. Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, I have to go. But I'll be back. Let's see. So, for now, great one. I'm actually just going to end the stream. Back a little bit later.